Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today's word is discernment. And it comes from a place really of noticing an increase in my discernment and that of my clients when it comes to this noise that passes through our heads. And I don't manage it most of the time, but when I notice that I do, it's great. So discernment is defined as the ability to judge well. And if you've heard me speak before, you will know that I'm not an advocate of judgment because it can lead us down a path of not feeling very good. And that's generally around when we think certain thoughts, or we behave a certain way, or we experience certain sensations, feelings. We label that up. We give it labels. We give it, and then we give it meaning. We make it that is the definition of us. That I heard Michael Neal say something like once, it's not that we melt down, it's that we think that defines who we are. So this is not guiding you to start judging yourself or others, to become more discerning in that way and think that you know better. But it is about what can happen when we start to understand better what our system is telling us and what it's doing when it's doing the things it does. Because fundamentally, where we're all going wrong most of the time is we don't read this system very well. And I often talk about understanding the system, but I think actually it's more to do with reading it properly. So there's some fundamental truths, there's some fundamental realities about you as a human being and how you actually are. And the first one is that you're amazing. Just thought I'd put that out there today. You're amazing. You're perfect. You have innate well-being. Everything that you think you need to find outside of you is already inside you. Never goes away. Can't break it. Life can't break it. Parents can't break it. Teachers can't break it. Bullies can't break it. Trauma cannot break it. It is there. It's like a diamond. It's rock solid. And I think just coming from that place to start with is when you really start to see that in yourself. And it's weird the times you see it, because it's often in the times of emergencies when something suddenly happens that we have to deal with and we fall into the present. But any other time when we fall into the present moment and we're just unfolding beautifully. So that's the first thing. The other things to know are about how you are functioning on a day-to-day basis. You are born this whole, perfect diamond, and then you are conditioned. The diamond isn't conditioned, but your way of thinking is something that you have learnt. It isn't fact. It isn't truth. It is the conditioning that you have picked up from the people around you as you grew up. And even now, we're being conditioned. I was chatting to a lady yesterday who watches the news a lot. And if you're doing that, it will be conditioning you. Unbeknown to you, it will be happening. So right through our lives, we're being conditioned. A lot of the bedrocks of our beliefs are put down in pretty early life. They say kind of before the end of primary school, before the age of kind of 10 or 11, those things are put down. And then we go about living our lives. And what happens is we don't tend to be overly discerning about this that's going through our heads. We tend to believe it, don't we? I know I believe my thinking a lot of the time. I particularly believe the thinking that says I'm right. I love that stuff. But where we can start to get a little more discerning is in how we're reading the system. And it's the misreading of our system that gets us into perhaps places we might not want to be in terms of our behaviour, reactions to other people, etc. And that is that when we have a sensation, an emotional sensation in our body, that sensation has information in it. It doesn't have information about the outside world. It doesn't have information about what your partner did this morning that you didn't like, or your kids, or anybody else, or your boss. It doesn't have any information about you being broken. The information that is there in the moment, that sensation is telling you about your state of mind right now. Not your state of mind in general, not your state of being a broken person with a broken mind, but your state of mind, your thought in the moment, right this moment. Which is why, even when we're feeling really rough, it passes, doesn't it? We go up and down. We come out of the low mood into a different mood. We go into an anxious feeling, we come out of it. Because thinking can't really hang around in our heads. It doesn't do that. It moves. New thought is coming in all the time. So how do we become more discerning is by understanding that system and getting curious about what we are believing in any moment that's causing or energetically kind of creating this uncomfortable sensation we have. So, for example, if you feel angry at any moment with anybody, or it seems to be with somebody, that is telling you that you have angry thinking. It isn't telling you that you're right and they're wrong. It isn't telling you that they need to stop doing that for you to be okay. It's just telling you you've got angry thinking. Now, when you know this, you get more discerning about which instructions to believe that are going across your head. You realize in that moment that there is construction going on, not instruction. So, for example, with the angry example, if I receive a message from somebody that I don't like and I feel an angry feeling welling up and I act from that angry feeling, I'll probably write a rude response to that message. If in the moment I realise, oh, angry feeling means this is a bit off right now, this is not the best place from which to reply to this message, then I will tend to wait. Now that's my doing. Doesn't have to be your doing. Your doing might be different. Your doing might be to count to 10 and walk around in 3 circles. I don't really care what it is. It's not about what you do in the moment. It's about knowing how the system works. That is where the discernment comes from. It comes from a seeing of how, an understanding of how the system works, and a seeing in the moment. Now, do not get me wrong. Sometimes I snap and shout and send rude messages. Not the messages quite so much. I think I've slowed down enough to not send them. But there is something about a slowing down. When, as I say that, I realise there's something about a slowing down that seems to happen when we almost take a step, and it's like, it's a microscopic step backwards. So we're no longer in it, but we can be the one observing it. There's the sensation. This is my head going 10 to the dozen, full of all sorts of angry thoughts. And in that, coming from that place of knowing that, we may be more able to discern which thoughts are helpful and which are not. Because when you send that angry message that it's like just chucking paraffin on an already quite well burning fire. It's often better in our relationships to chuck a bit of water on it instead. And that's just one example. If you've got an anxious feeling, and you've got thoughts saying, don't do this, don't do that, you can't do that, you're going to look stupid, or whatever else it is, then knowing that those thoughts don't know anything about what you're capable of, and becoming more discerning in the moment will probably mean that you'll do things that you really do want to do, speaking or turning up on a live, making a podcast, whatever else it happens to be. You will do those things because you will take that voice less seriously. You'll become more discerning. And that is just so transformational. It's just so powerful. To no longer believe that this noise in our head is, as Michael Neill says, the voice of God. It is not. It is just the voice of your great-great-great-grandma, probably, that's been passed down through the generations. I'm not sure how relevant she is, because she stayed at home and did the washing all day. Didn't actually do much else as a woman back then, probably. So yeah, just get curious about this as usual. How amazing to become more discerning and not have to do everything that your head tells you. That is truly, truly powerful. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.